I'm JD. Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe. Please hit like. And I want to give a shout out to some folks who are helping me with this interesting balanced staff issue. First of all, Mark from Australia, thank you very much for all the information. And thank you for guiding me to the book that I have now purchased. And I'm going to show you this in a second to help with tools needed to measure a balanced staff if you don't have the original balanced staff. And you're looking at the balanced staff installed loosely in the balance, and I'm going to try something out today, but we're going to look at the book first. I also like to thank Sunny out there, who's been helping all along as well with measurement tools, and as well Chris out there has been throwing in a few hints and helps and stuff like that. These are very smart watchmakers, and they're all helping me with this little issue. So, and as the story goes, I built the balance staff on a watchmaker's lathe. I did some measurements. I made a video on it, and I measured it pretty darn close to the right size balance staff. I made a video sitting on a couch the other day to show you my dilemma, and really don't know whether the balance staff has to go up or down, which means do I have to take material off the bottom pivot, or take the material off the top pivot, or take material off both pivots, and that's to enable the roller table and the impulse jewel to interact correctly with the pallet fork. So let me show you the book. First of all, let's have a look at that. All right, here's the book from the internetarchive.org, or it's called archive.org, and it's called Precision Time Measures. I'm being told that the 1952 version of the book has got more modern material, but the older version of the book might have other material. Not sure, but I've ordered this book off of Amazon, and it came from the US, so I had to order it through the US, but it's coming next week, which is great. So let me flip some pages here. So here's the book, Francis Fowler's book. Paid $25 for this book, or $2.50. Not sure which. Anyway, I doubt if it was $25 back then for this book. And there is Higginbotham, whatever his name was. Higginbotham. I love those British names. It's got to be a British name. Charles Higginbotham. Charles Higginbotham here. And British people always sound smarter than everyone else because of that darn accent. So, Charles Higginbotham III here. Schmidley. So here's Schmidley's living with an orangutan. It's a female orangutan. There's nothing wrong with Schmidley. All right, let's get on with this little book here. So here's the book, and copyright 19, whatever that is, 12 maybe. Hard to read, but this book is pretty amazing. It's got a lot of pages to it, a lot of pages. So it sounded a little like the Donald Trump there. It's got a lot of pages, a lot of pages. A lot of, I'm telling you, they say it's a lot of pages. It's impersonation day to day. So the mainspring. So this is a whole section on the mainspring. So it's pretty impressive. So it goes through the whole mainspring, everything about the coils and everything else. Then it goes through calculating the watch trains and all the data on the teeth and everything else. This is really, really good material, by the way. So if you don't understand how all this works on a mechanical watch, you've got to look at this book. It's friggin' amazing. And as you can see, as you go through this book, it's got sections on jeweling. There's watch jewels. It's a whole section, chapter 3 on jeweling. It gives you all of the information needed to understand how jeweling actually works in a watch. I don't have any jeweling impressions for you this morning, but there's a jewel sticking up there and the cap jewel on top. And it talks about rounding the pivots. It talks about how the whole thing actually works so that you get the least amount of friction. Then it's got a whole section on escapements. So this section is just phenomenal on escapements. There's all the math, if you're wondering. Someone wrote me saying, how do I determine with these jewels in the escapement, how do I determine the angles here? How do I actually do that? Now there's jigs that you can buy to set all this stuff. They're vintage, but there's jigs. I think they probably have modern ones, but not for pocket watches. The older ones work well, but there you go. And also the guard pins and the banking and the guard rollers and safety roller rather. And this is a great diagram here to tell you how it actually works, the locking corner and how this works. I do put this special oil on this part of the escapement wheel, and it actually provides that lubrication right there, Jerry, right there. So there are the angles there. If you want to do math on this, you can sit down and someone will probably come over and say, "What the hell are you doing?" so there we go. And so it's got a whole section on escapement. I'm not sure what this guy's got the thing around his finger for, but he's trying to protect his finger or something. He wants to move something and not damage it. So it's a tissue paper finger cot. There's something I want to design right now with a rubber band C1A1 1000 rubber band. Everyone needs one. I used to play a guitar in a rubber band, by the way. So I always stop for the comic pause. So I'm just flipping through the book here for you. And I'll just call this the book review then. So here we go. More stuff on the angles. We're going to get to this tool in a second. Then it also, if I get further down in here, it also goes into different types of escapement. Let me see if I can find that. So it goes for the locking and unlocking action here that you need to know about. Side slide. Oh my God. There's more information here than you would ever need to know. So these escapements here are interesting and can become a real pain in the butt. Ratchet tooth escapements. And it tells you all about how they work because you're going to run into those. And I think there's cylinder escapements coming up too. What is this? More math on these. Yada, yada, yada. I'm just flipping through here so you can see it all. There's the entrance of the impulse jewel into that little slot. Everything is just so precise in mechanical watches. You gotta appreciate all of the work that people did over the years to figure out how this works. There's a cylinder escapement. I never really knew how this worked with these little feet, these teeth on the cylinder escapement, but that's how they work. So it gives you all the information you're going to need about the cylinder escapement and how that thing operates mechanically. Precision time. I'm just going to be very annoying and flip through this. And there you go. I love these side views, by the way, because it tells you exactly the interaction of the various wheels and gears and stuff. Now, if I look at here, there's the section on the balance staff. I made a copy from this. I did screen prints, and then I turned it into a PDF, but I sent folks on Facebook the actual photos here. But this is a really good section, and my challenge was measuring, after cutting the balance staff, how to measure the actual length of this balance staff and the various positions. So if I look at this drawing again, I got to make sure that the A, B, and C, I got to make sure C, D, F is all in the right position. So when I put the balance on here and I put the see, this is where the mainspring collet goes. So it's hairspring collet. It says main here, I think. Anyway, no, maybe it says hair. So the hairspring collet goes on top. There's the balance itself, and then down here would be where the impulse jewel roller table seat is down here, and the safety roller seat is one lower if it's a split. So the one I'm working on is one single unit. It's not a split, so it's one shaft. So I'm trying to make sure that if I remove material from the bottom of this, it's going to lower this whole thing, and it might not allow the impulse jewel to interact correctly with the pallet fork, and it could hit the guard pin. Don't want that to happen. So there's a tool here. This is the first tool that they talk about, where B is where you would shove that into the bottom jewel, and that would be, they said cut it at, I think, 0.6 if I read that earlier, but you got to cut this thing at 0.6, and then the bottom one here would be cut to probably 0.10, 0.10 or 0.09 or whatever, so you can make sure it goes through the jewel hole, depending on what pocket watch size you're working on. Some of the ladies' watches, the jewel holes are pretty small. I've gotten down to 0.11, I think, but not to 0.09. Don't think so anyway. And so you build this little block here, and you find this rod that's 0.6, probably blued steel, so you can cut the bottom nicely. And then you put a little screw in there to stop it, and then you'll see in a second how it works. So there you go. If I look over to the right-hand side of this diagram, you can see how you're just putting this down through the upper. You're taking the jewel setting and the cap jewel setting out with the jewels. You're dropping this down through, so then you have it resting on the balance cock, which is M here. M, I'm telling you, M. Isn't That the secret agent guy from James Bond, M? I can't remember. Anyway, J is the first of my JD. So anyway, so there you go. So you do that, you lock it in. Now you know this distance here. And guess what? Then you take the upper part, because you really want to know what you're missing here, and you want this the pivot to go through the first jewel. So all you're concerned with is the top part of M, which is where the cap jewel setting would be. And so if you shove that cap jewel setting in there, I think that's what they've done here. You can correct me if I is wrong. They just need to measure that delta. So what they're doing here is just shoving this into here so they know the delta. But the great part here is what it's doing is effectively lowering this unit here. They're lowering the unit to by this amount, right? And then the new amount would be that minus Q. So then they'd know exactly the distance. And there you have it with the other figure 102, right? So you can read that. So this is a jig or a tool I may actually make. I probably won't do a video on making the tool. I should, but it looks pretty simple to make. You can use a square block. I have aluminum stock or brass, and you need to drill a hole, and then you need to get all, you need to basically get the screw in there somehow. So drill a hole sideways, and then get your nice little set out and get that screw in there. So, and then they have this here where it actually fits into the actual balance cock, but I don't think that'll work that well. But the XY, just read all this, but this is a good way of having a tool that tells you exactly how deep to go. And this is holding, this is holding the setting right where the lip is, and so that's going to go down into the balance cock and stop at that lip, so it's telling you what the distance is there. So it's a pretty cool tool. I think Mark told me to read this book, and I ended up buying it, another book. This thing cost me 85 bucks Canadian, which is like $3,000 US. It's got more on these tools and more on how to use them and more on how to cut stuff and everything else. So I implore you to get this, read it, and then comment. But all of the technique is there. So there's the tool, there's the use. So this other pages that Mark sent me is this one here. So this is kind of cool. This tool here is you basically fake out a balance staff. So you've got this tool here. I believe this is friction fit, but you could put screws on the top and the bottom as well. The bottom, that's Boston for bottom. The bottom. So you could roof and bottom. So you put that in, you basically fake it, and you put this in, and then you absolutely know the distance between the upper and lower jewels with the pivots properly seated within the jewel and touching the whatever the hell these things are called. I love when I'm talking, I forget the names of stuff. Touching the cap jewels on the upper side and the lower side. So I'm being very real here, It is the morning. And I'm wearing my hat. This is the hat Madonna actually bought. And I bought it not because of her. I bought it years ago because it's a Shady Brady hat. It's got little tassels in the back, and every time I wear it, I think that there's some friggin' fly on my back, and I go swat for it. So as the older you get, the more the hat bothers you. So there you go. So that's that. And then making the balance. So it even has a section on making a balance. So if you really get bored and you need to make yourself a balance, then there is a section on how to do it. So then cleaning a watch, and I'm not sure what technique they're using here, but you can see all of the stuff they have. It's funny that most of these tools that are in this book I have, which is pretty sad. I've purchased a boatload of tools, and this is on oiling, I think, too. Anyway, that's all making a balance. And what else do we have here? I'm just going to scoot forward here and see what else. I've got all the gear interactions. This is good stuff. I need to entertain you while I'm turning pages here. Oh, there's truing a balance. So I made a video on truing a balance. It's actually not that difficult, and you do use your fingers. So once you get into the caliper, I have like 5 or 6 of these calipers. Let me reach back into one of my bins of toolness and see if I can pull out a caliper. Let me think. There we go. Here's one of my calipers. There it is right there. It's got a little nice swing on it. I love how they designed this so it stays flat while you swing it. So there it is there, and then you lock that in a position up here, and it swings. Actually, I don't lock that one this way. So that's one of my calipers. And what do I got here? Oh, geez. I just happen to have another caliper. There's another one of my calipers. This one, you do this to, and it's handheld. That's a pretty cool one there. Eh? And then you lock that in, and that's again for truing a balance. And let me reach back here again, and oh, geez, I got another caliper. There's another caliper, and this one was like the last one, except it's dual. You have a dual caliper. Look at that, dual. So I got a dual caliper. Look, reach in here again. What do I have? I have a nipping device. I think I showed you guys this. This is like a nipping device. This is in one drawer, and I got lots of drawers. And then I have, what do I have here? Is this another caliper? Let me see. I can't remember what's in this thing. It's a vintage box, and it's not a caliper. And I don't know why I need that, but I went on a buying spree. And I know I have more calipers in my other tool part bin, so, but these are all calipers. And I made a video on actually how to use these and how to actually straighten a balance out to true, flat, and true round. And so there's a whole section in this book on how to do that. And there you go. And it's got all the little devices used for grabbing the rim of the balance and twisting it. But in some of the books I have, it basically says just grab the damn thing and twist it until it's right. So you got to be very careful doing that, by the way. And there we go. It is funny how they give you a technique on how to grab something. It's a grabbing technique. And there we go there, and how to twist it and grab it. Poising the balance, that's important. If you're working on a precision pocket watch, then you're going to want to poise it so it's keeping exact time. So I'm talking 21 jewel railroad grade Hamiltons or Elgins or whatever, for example. If you're working on a really cheap pocket watch, there's likely other things that are going to cause that watch to not be as precise. A 7 jewel pocket watch that your customer just wants to run. He's not going to be looking at and timing the damn thing. Well, with my this watch check here, so I've got that. I just love this Casio G-Shock, by the way. It's really nice. It's made in Japan. It's the Japanese version of the Casio with the screw down back. This is squirrel moment, so I'm off on the branch. I got to get back to this. So anyway, so this whole section here is on poising the balance and tells you how to do it. I've poised balances. I usually don't poise the balance if it's a very cheap watch and I haven't done much work on it and it's keeping pretty good time. Why am I farting with the screws? I do poise the balance if I do have to play with the mean time screws on the watch to get the timing right and maybe get that setting lever to center between fast and slow. And this is where you want to be. And I've had those challenges before where people have sent me their watches and said, I can't get the darn watch to run at the correct speed. What am I doing wrong here? Can you do this? And I get the watch, and for some reason it's running so slow that I'm out of real estate to actually slow it down more, or speed it up rather. I'm out of real estate. It's speeding up so fast. Then I have to either adjust the springs on it, or sorry, what are they called? The pins. I have to adjust the pins where the hairspring rides between those pins. And there's books on how to adjust those. Some of the watches that aren't pocket watches, they actually twist a bit when you put them into position, but pocket watches are generally parallel, bacon parallel. Oh, that's my French breakfast, by the way. I'm in one of those moods today. So French breakfast. I'll have 2 eggs facing the sun, a bacon parallel, toast brown coffee in a cup. Never mind, I changed my head. That's French breakfast for you people that don't speak French. That's Canadian French breakfast because of Parisian French and the Canadian non-Parisian French, I guess. They talk like this. They speak the language of the people. And theoretically, I talked to a guy whose wife was a linguist who studied in France and said that the Quebec French is the original French. And the French from France has adapted over the years or changed over the last, since Canada and the French came to Canada in the 1600s, very early 1600s. And the Parisian French is not the true French. It's the Quebec French. Get off, my brother and my other brother went down to the stream, was he? So there you go. So springing, I'll shut up and stop doing stupid accents. So it's got a whole section on springing. I hope this is an enjoyable video. So if it's not, too bad. So, so here we go. This is a whole section. I have the vibrating. I have a vibrator. Oh, there's jokes I could tell right now that I just can't get into. Okay, but I'm a guy that has a vibrator. Okay. And I use it for vibrating hairsprings. I did a video years ago on how to vibrate a hairspring properly with my vibrator, and it's pretty cool. So if you need to actually figure out where that stud is going to go in position B on that hairspring to get a perfect 18,000 beats per hour, then you need to know how to vibrate the hairspring and pin it to the right place. So that's why you do that, and maybe for other reasons. And then pinning a collet is a little trickier. I've only done that a few times. Hopefully the collets are on. I've got tools to squeeze in the collet and do stuff like that. But here it's showing the angles of the collet and how to fix that to make sure the collet's flat. The watch I'm working on has that problem because I forked it up, I think. But I would end up with figure 177, if that's 177. Don't know. Yeah, it's 177. I'd end up with figure 177, and the darn thing would be sideways. So I need to fix that so it's not sideways. Yes. And there's some other tools you can use. Oh, and it even has a section. There's those pins, folks. There's those pins. 2 pairs, and maybe it's going to tell us exactly how we need to center that thing and the timing. The watch is now ready for timing. It says running too slow. The hairspring may be taken up. So this is a great book, by the way. I'm going to spend the rest of the year reading this. Then it goes into magnetism, and that's how much you can attract other people by being very magnetic. So I don't know if I'm a magnetic person, but my wife hasn't left me yet. I actually introduced her as my first wife to keep her on her toes. So I'd like to say, isn't Josie my first wife? Anyway, I don't have a second one or another 0 wife. So there you go. This is, what was this? Magnetism. So I've got the best one I have is actually the Chinese one I got from let me grab this for a second because this is the best one I have. So this says Ching Chao Pao Ni Bao Chao. It's my very bad Chinese. Li Tong Moden. This is the one I have, and you folks probably already have this. It's like this. It's pretty simple. It's got a button on one side and a light on the other, and you put your watch or your pocket watch or whatever right through the center, leave it for 3 seconds, and pull it out very slowly about 1.5 feet away, and it will align all those little ferrite materials in your watch so it becomes non-magnetic. This one works really well. I've got another one I made a video on years ago that was vintage, and it had all the wires wrapped around, and when I pressed that button, I actually wore a big glove because I thought I'm going to push that button and it's going to friggin' blow up on me and go like that. It's going to vibrate the hell out of me and cause me all kinds of problems. All right, let's continue. I'm sure you're bored by now. So this is exactly how that works, and it's talking about, look at this. What is this? Spring that's magnetized. Yeah, it's talking about magnetized material. So it is amazing that you can take a watch that is magnetized and you can test it. How I test it, let me reach back into my bin of tools. I usually put this little device here, see that little compass? I put that right on top of the balance cock, right over the balance, Jerry, right centered right over the balance, absolutely centered over the balance, and then I look at it. And when I look at it, it goes beep, 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 just a little bit and tells me that damn thing's magnetized. I don't test it. I don't test the balance any other way or the hairspring any other way. Just put this over the center. You can tell right away if it's magnetized as the balance is moving. Of course, it's got to be wound. It's got to be moving or this doesn't work. But it's a little tiny compass that I've had for years. I think this is the same one that the Christopher Columbus used when he discovered America. This is the compass. Right here. Who's discovered America? Bugs Bunny discovered America. Hey, Doc. I won't go into Bugs Bunny impressions, but I do a pretty decent Elmer Fudd. Oh, whoa. I'm very, very interested in pocket watch repair. All right, that's it. And I won't do my Sylvester the Cat. Well, maybe I will. Thuffer and Thuckatash. My father eaten by a mouse. But it was a giant mouse, son. There, you got a little bit of Bugs Bunny. And a little singing, maybe. What do you think? Take that log, hold it tight, hit that guy with all your might. Hit him in the shoulder, hit him in the head, hit him again, the critter ain't dead. Jump in the lake, swim like a trout, trout, trout. Jump right out. Don't you cuss and don't you swear. Come right out like a hollow square. I know I'm going to get comments on that. So when we were kids, my brother and I watched Bugs Bunny every Saturday, and we memorized every bit of it, I think. So I pretty much know how to do all of the Bugs Bunny. Rootin', tootin', rootin'. Came to see the high diving act, and I'm going to see the high diving act. Now dive, critter. Now, we entertained ourselves. I think my brother does all those impressions, too. So what do we have here? This is an instrument, another instrument. I'm not sure what that instrument is. Detecting magnetism, very small, sensitive magnetic needle. Oh, my God. Oh, me, oh, my. You can tell me who said that. Oh, me, oh, my. This is the most powerful handgun in the world. Blow your head clean off. Do you feel lucky, punk? Adjusting. So this whole chapter is on adjusting. So that is so critical when you're adjusting watch. Tempered steel, non-tempered steel. This is adjusting for temperature. This is an old book. So you got a light bulb on the safe and a thermometer in the bottom. So if you want to do it this way, go ahead. I'm sure there's tools that are much better nowadays for adjusting for temperature. And I got no impressions on this one, folks. None at all. And if you're looking for precision, then you need to deal with temperature. You need to deal with the screws that aren't the mean time screws. So 1, 1, Y, 7, and whatever the hell the other one is, are the mean time screws. For timing, the other ones are temperature screws. So do not touch unless you know what you're doing, or you'll ruin the watch. There we go. Look at that. This is a whole section on this. And by God, read it. This will make you an expert. At least people will think you're an expert, even if you're really not. So I love repairing watches, and I love people that repair watches because they're usually smart. Adhesion of oil. Oil. I'm rich. I'm fabulously wealthy. Third, so this is going through resistance of air. Oh my God, this is air resistance. Inertia. That was a girlfriend I had when I was in university. Her name was Inertia. She just wouldn't stop going. She went on and on. Pendulum swing. Okay, workmanship. So read this section on workmanship. And it's going to tell you, like the bottom, general conditions of the watch carefully noted with a view of determining how much of the watch work was due to ill usage given to them by the owners and how much to bad handling by the retail jeweler or the watchmaker. The results are below. Broken jewels, 43%. I've seen that a lot. Broken pivots or balance pivots injured. That means the balance pivot has gone to war and come back injured. It's a funny term to use for a balance pivot. So balance pivots broken. Okay, injured and broken. Injured, I guess, is bent, and broken is the other one here. So rusty hairsprings. So that's my country name, okay, when I play music. And you know I play guitar, that's Rusty Hairsprings. That's my country name. So from now on, you can call me Rusty, okay? I love that. Rusty Hairsprings. Actually, years ago, my admin assistant from years ago in my job bought me a jar of nuts. And I got, for some reason, she said, "Hey, JD, you got this thing on your lip. What's going on?" And the problem was I was allergic to something in that jar of nuts. And it wasn't any of the nuts because I got tested later. And it turned out that it might have been mold from the dust or the nuts. So my other country name was Dusty Nuts. Because moldy nuts is not a good country name. I'm sorry, I'm entertaining myself right now. So you could have rusty hairsprings, mutilated hairsprings. It's when It's when a killer gets a hold of your hairsprings and he mutilates your hairspring. I do have a video on how to unmutilate a hairspring, by the way. And then up here where I live in Ottawa, the local watch and clock society actually has sent me hairsprings that need to be unmutilated. But I love the term mutilated hairsprings. Oh my God. Hairsprings broken or unsuited to the watch, that's fine. Broken dials, fine. Imperfectly fitted broken jewel pins, okay. Pallet stones injured, 3. That's the percents. So the main percent is broken jewels. I've seen that a lot. And I've seen broken pivots. So broken pivots and broken jewels are the big thing, right? The rest of them are not usually a problem. If the hairspring is off, it's usually because someone has taken the watch apart and forked with the hairspring. So it's normally not, because there's workmanship. There's balance injured beyond correction. Ow! And barrels injured. That's when a barrel goes in and the enemy is shooting and the barrel stood in front of the balance and took one. So, and then miscellaneous is the wife of Mr. Alanius. All right, I'm in a stupid mood right now. And characteristic mistakes of American watchmakers today. And today was 1952, I think. In the justice system, American watch manufacturers, dun. Sorry, I think that's criminal intent. So we got all kinds of other things on here, and bad practicing with mainsprings and fitting balance staffs. Here's where I'm going to dive in really soon. Managing must damage result with incompetence and careless workmanship by the treatment of the balance staff. We're going to mutilate the balance staff. Driving out the broken staff with a giant hammer. No, so that's not me. You know how anal retentive I am when I work with watches. I don't do any of that stuff. Nothing gets mutilated. I take my time and I follow the proper steps, and I often will read the books again before I go into a procedure, just so I remember what to do. In fact, I haven't shaved the top and bottom, or one or the other, or both of the bottom. I love that word. Of the balance staff I just made, because I'm still trying to figure out the measurement. I'm still wanting to make sure I take the absolute right direction in this. Otherwise, I'm back on the lathe making a new balance staff. Maybe I make that tool and a tool right over there and make the new balance staff. Anyway, this is a long video. And finally, it requires years to become a good watchmaker. You can become a poor watchmaker in a really quick time, no doubt. I saw a guy farting with watches once, and every time he did something, I was like, oh, 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 oh. And I'm sure you've all seen that. You can comment on that and maybe put some names up. No, don't do that. No man or woman, I think, can justly call himself or herself a watchmaker unless he or she has a thorough knowledge of construction, function, and adjustment of every member entering into the mechanism of a watch. And we'll see that no botch work is permitted. So it's telling you, be a good watchmaker. You need to be a level higher than anyone could think. You need love that word. When you work on someone's watch, you need to work on it as though it was your great-great-grandfather's watch. And if it's not working when you're finished, or if you damage something, it's a personal hit on you. You have to really take care. Don't play with other people's possessions wholeheartedly. You need to basically work on this thing and be very, very professional. Follow the steps. Make sure you don't miss anything and get the thing operating perfectly again. And warrant your work, like I do. If someone gives me the watch to repair, and something's wrong, I tell them send it back. It's on me, right? So I warrant my work, and I've always warranted my work. I've only had, I think, 2 ever come back over all these years. So, and both of them were working perfectly when I shipped them. I'm burping right now. Sorry. I should edit that out. So Chris Spinner out there, you could edit that out for me, okay, Chris? And Sonny, I'm not editing it out for you, okay? So there's the index. So do good work. There's the index of this thing. So if you want to look something up, there's the index, and it's got all the stuff. It's sorted and ordered and everything else. There's my favorite page of this book, and favorite second page, favorite third page, the Getty Center Library. So the Gettysburg Address. So there it is there. Let me see if I can slide this thing all back to the beginning. And what I'd really like to do is find the date of this book here. And there we are. Precision Time Measures, Higginbotham. I haven't found the date. The date should be in here. There's the date. So this is, the publisher is 1913, but this doesn't tell me, I don't think I can see the date of this, of the published book. But this gentleman on the left-hand side absolutely looks like a watchmaker, except that handlebar mustache is from the Civil War, and he needs to shave that off if he's still alive. Copyright was I think that's 1913, but this book, it says, it talks about his death in 1915, Cons TS, and there's the number there, you can look that up. Looking for a little bit of information about Mr. Higginbotham, I presume, and this does not tell me when this book was printed. So they may have the very early copy of this book here that I'm flipping, So let me shut up. So I found in my million tools my cullet holding device that I don't know if you folks have one of these, but look at this thing. So what I'm thinking is that tool I showed you, I can simply put a collet in that's 0.6 millimeters. It'll take a 0.6 millimeter, and that is likely the number 6 collet, and or lower, because that wouldn't be a 6 millimeter, it would be a 0.6 millimeter. So I think it is the number 6 collet that I have. Put the wire in there and lower this down and see where it stops, and just allow a minute bit of friction in here as I lower it, and then tighten this, pull it out, and then I've got the absolute distance from the top of the balance cock where those 2 jewels would be, the actual jewel and the cap jewel, and then I can actually measure the width of the cap jewel, and that would be what I'd subtract, and that would give me the distance I need for the complete balance. So I might try that. But the first thing I'm going to do is mock up the balance in the balance balance with the, what the hell am I talking about? The first thing I'm going to do, and I thought about this morning while taking my shower, which is where all the best thinking happens, by the way, so is take the balance, put the pallet fork in, and I mean, that's all, folks. YouTube J.D. Richard, Porky Pig Sings Blue Christmas. Just YouTube that and see what you get. So anyway, so I'm going to put the balance in, but I'm not going to put the balance cock on. I think I'm going to use a piece of Rodico on the top, and then I'm going to take that thing that they call the impulse jewel with the roller table and put that in next to it, and I'm going to install the pallet fork and see where it all kind of fits. I'm going to see if I can see that under a microscope and see if I'm going to get a good interaction, and I'm going to try to do that without actually installing that roller table onto the balance staff. So that's it for now. I'll catch you in my next video. JD, by the way, please subscribe, please hit a like, and you get more nonsense from me.